Hello, everyone, and welcome to the free live magic Q&A tea party with Madame Pamita that meets up every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Eastern. We record this as a free live Zoom meeting every Sunday at that time, and then post the recording later on in the week. I've been a little slow on posting them, but eventually they'll get posted on YouTube for a rewatch on YouTube. And if you're watching this as a replay on YouTube and you want to get into the clubhouse, it is a very easy thing to do. You don't have to pay dues. You don't have to sign a blood oath. You don't have to go through an initiation. All you have to do is go to spellsquad.com, spellsquad.com, and sign up to be on my email list. When you do that, you'll get an email that will give you the link to join us every week. We're here every week. And you can join us in the clubhouse, ask questions about magic, meet my amazing guests. My guest this week is a kitten. I didn't plan well. So I have me, I'm the guest, and a kitten. Don't think she's gonna be answering too many questions, though. I think it's just gonna be me. So head over to spellsquad.com. Sign up, you'll get the link to join our Zoom meeting. You can ask your questions about magic, law of attraction, spiritualism, tarot, spells, witchcraft, you name it. And in case you've just stumbled upon this and you don't know who I am Madame Pamita, and you can find me online at parlorofwonders.com. You can also find my YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/Madame Pamita. We also have Instagram, which is Madame Pamita. I have a podcast, which is called Magic and the Law of Attraction, and you can find it by going to magicandthelawofattraction.com. I'm an author. I have blogs up on my site, and on Patheos Pagan, I have a blog called Baba Yaga's Cottage, which is about Slavic magic. And I'm an author of a couple of books. My first book is Madame Pamita's Magical Tarot, which is available now. And I have a book coming out in October of 2020 called The Book of Candle Magic, which is an amazing, complete candle magic lesson. I mean, like, it is like a school of candle magic. You will learn everything there is to know from very, very beginning to very, very advanced candle magic. And it's not just recipes, it's teaching you the hows and whys of candle magic so that you can create your own spells. So it's a very, very beautiful book, which, by the way, you can pre-order now. It's available for pre-order on the usual places, but I'm encouraging people to go to their local mom and pop bookstore by email, give them a phone call, support your mom and pop bookstore. Those are the places that we get to do events. So when things open up again and I'm able to teach classes, it'll be at that mom and pop bookstore. So support them by pre-ordering the book through them. And you can do that by just reaching out to them and ordering the Book of Candle Magic. It's published by Llewellyn Books, and it's by Madame Pamita. So I think that does it for all my mishmash of information about me. Let's get to some questions. Let's see what we got going on here in the questions. So we got people asking questions. First question that comes up is an interesting one. CK wants to know, is there any magical significance to discovering a black widow spider in your salad? Okay. So when we talk about anything that looks like unusual, we want to first look to see if there's any reason for that happening. Like you had a black widow nest in your house, or you were taking your salad out to the woodshed or something like that. If there's a sort of a logical reason for it, we want to look at that first and go, okay, it was a black widow because I was eating my salad in the garage or wherever. But if there's no logical reason for something like that happening, then you want to look up and see if you have an encounter with an animal that's unusual, you want to look up and see what that animal means. Now we can look symbolically at a black widow. A black widow is super defensive, very outsized in its strength. Like, it's a tiny little spider, but it can, really make a big creature sick, or even kill a big creature. So we look at that black widow spider as something or someone that has a very big power connection of protection. They're strong. They're they're a creature that can their size doesn't dictate their strength. So as you are looking this as a symbol, number one, I would look to see, is it you that it's representing? Meaning, do you need to really pull together your strength and protection around some topic in your life? Do you need to be more forceful? Do you need to be possibly more defensive? I wouldn't call a black-widow spider an aggressive animal, but it's definitely a defensive animal. It's gonna, and then maybe there's something that you need to go out and get, and it's a big thing, and it's the black widow spider reminding you that even if you're one person, you can make a huge difference in something. Now, the vice versa, that black widow could represent something that is coming for you. So that could be somebody that is deceptively minor in your life that's creating a big kerfuffle or get big problems in your life, or someone that you're misjudging as being ineffective or weak when actually they're quite strong. So I would look at those two things. I mean, with any kind of symbol, you have to look and see what it reflects and means to you. This is a message for you. So looking at that, is the black widow about your own strength, or is it about someone else's strength? Is it acknowledging someone else is very strong that you've been maybe discounting? Or is it somebody that's creating a lot of upheaval and chaos in your life that you need to eliminate or get rid of? So that's where I would start with that. But you can also look up, anytime you have a spirit animal, you can look up spirit animal information online. There's a great book also that you can use. It's called The Llewellyn Little Book of Spirit Animals. That book is an amazing resource. I turn to it all the time when I have a spirit animal encounter of some kind, and then I look to see what it means, and the book is always right on. I think it's Melissa Alvarado is the author, and it's the Llewellyn Little Book of Spirit Animals, and I really love that one. So take a look in that book, look up online. There's lots and lots of places you can go. Nina says hi. Casey says aw. Nina says aw for my little kitty. Here she is again. Okay, let me show you what she does. This is our trick. Should we show them our trick? Don't chew on my cord. That's the first part of the trick. Okay, here's our trick. Oops, here's our trick. She stands on my shoulder, although she's not doing it now because she's so entranced with that cord. She usually just sits up there on my shoulder because she's so little. She's not gonna be able to do that her whole life long. I'm not gonna have a 10-pound cat up on my shoulder. Hi, Moana, welcome. Hi, Jenner, hi. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Bronwyn, Jurgen. Oh my gosh, everyone loves you. Ozma, everyone thinks you're amazing as I do. All right, so Sevda has a question. I hope all is well. I need help. I have a creepy neighbor who's doing witchcraft on me. She's leaving dead ears cut up, and today she left a dead bunny in my yard. And obviously she's doing magic. How do I reverse her curses to protect myself from them? So first thing you need to do is, I would say, report her to, this is a problem if she's killing animals and leaving them on your doorstep, or dead ears. I'm not sure what dead ears are, human ears or animal ears. You need to report that to the authorities, because people can't go around killing animals and leaving them on people's doorsteps. There's laws against that. So you can do that. You could also report her for harassment. You might want to get a camera to, catch her in the act, so that you're making sure that you're seeing it's the right person. If you have a camera, great. If you don't have one, you might want to invest in one just so that you have some documentation so that you can report it to the authorities. Other than that, so if you're dealing with someone who is, a very simple thing that you can do when you're dealing with someone who's attacking you is you can sprinkle salt around your property as a protective layer around your door, around your property. That will keep her away. Black salt in particular is very, very protective. When I say black salt, there's dyed black salt, but I like using the lava black salt, the black lava salt. To me, it has the energy of the fire and the earth in it that a salt that's just dyed black doesn't really have. So you can either use dyed salt, or you can use that lava salt and put that around your property to protect. You can do reversing spells. There's reversing candles, double action candles. I have videos up showing how to do that. So that's what I would do. But I would start first, with the issue of leaving dead animal or animal parts on your doorstep, and get video documentation of that, and then report it, because people can't do that. Alrighty, Bruce. Bruce has a question. When one is having a tarot reading, how accurate should one expect the timing of future events to be? Can tarot cards give accurate timelines for the future? That's a great question about tarot. So with tarot card readings, with anything, there's two kinds of schools of thought. One is that you can go into a tarot reader and you can have a reading that will accurately tell you exactly what your future is, play by play, blow by blow, just like someone saw the movie and they're describing the movie to you. However, I take issue with that interpretation of what a tarot reading is. The reason being is that when we think about that your destiny is laid out like a movie that someone's already seen, it means that you have no free will, right? If the cards are going to say you are going to have 3 children, even if you want no children, what if you want 10 children? What if you don't want to get married? What if you weren't even thinking about kids? If your reading says you're going to have 3 children, you're going to have 3 children and you have no say over it. Is that the case? That's not the information I get. The information that I get from my guides is that we can see paths to things, but we cannot see whether or not you will take that path. So there's sometimes very, very strong paths that can be almost look like destinies because they're so strong in one direction. You guys see this in your regular life. You look at somebody who is a super go-getter, they're really hustler, they're going out and they're striving, they're working hard, they're working to make their life and career amazing. Let's say their career amazing, and they're working really hard. You can almost predict that success is going to follow that person because they're really, really working at it. They're really pushing for it. And you can see that they have that desire and they have an aura about them of success. Likewise, we can see situations where people are addicted to drugs and the only thing they care about in their life is drugs, and they keep getting deeper and deeper into it. And we can see that they're like a car driving off the edge of the cliff, right? So we can see that there's a strong destiny toward something positive or something negative. We've seen that in our lives. Most everyone has. So when we're looking at a reading, when we're looking at something, sometimes the reader, or I'll just speak for myself, sometimes I see things that have very strong paths in them. Doesn't necessarily mean, about success in career or drug addiction or anything like that, but we can see something, for example, with a relationship that it has a really, even though things are struggling now, it really has a good, positive, strong destiny. Likewise, we can see a relationship that looks okay now, but then doesn't look so good in the future. Now, that doesn't mean when I lay it out to someone, it means that we're looking at where the car is driving. But that doesn't mean that they can't turn off that road or take a different road, right? So I think of readings being a little bit like Waze or Google Maps, right? When you're looking at Waze, you can follow what Waze tells you or Google Maps tells you and to get to your destination, or you could take a whole different route if you wanted to take a different route. It's up to you. Waze is not controlling your car. Waze is just telling you, hey, here's the fastest way to get there. Now, it used to be in the olden days of Google Maps, not so much with Waze, but with the Google Maps, I used to go, oh, you know what? I'm smarter than Google Maps. I know a faster way of getting there than what they're telling me. And I'd get off the road and take some side streets, knowing my way around. And I might get there, shave a minute or two off the time, get there a little bit faster that way. But now Waze is super smart and Google Maps has gotten smarter and they are always right. So when we're looking at a reading, it kind of depends on the situation and how strong the destiny, how strong is it going in toward that direction. It could be like Google Maps where it's like, hey, if you take this road or you take this road, you're going to get there about the same time. Or it could be, no, you definitely don't want to go on the freeway because there's a big traffic jam and a big accident. You definitely want to go on the side streets and get there that way. So it's thinking about things in that way of like, you're looking at a map, and you're looking at a map that can show you where you do or don't want to go. So that's why a reading, when I do a reading for someone, I'm looking at that map and I'm showing them the way usually to get to their best outcome. Oh, you need to avoid this, watch out for this, definitely pay attention to this, here's your opportunity coming in, and so on. So different paths to get to your destination, and the reading will show us that. Now, in terms of timing, sometimes I get timings. Sometimes those timings can be super like to the number, like, you know, it's going to happen on this day. We can look at different days. We can see when it's going to happen. Other times there's so much in play that we have to give a range, you know, that there's too much wishy-washy energy around it. So we may have to say a range between, oh, this might happen between 2 and 6 months, or this can happen within 6 months. You know, we might have to give a range. So it depends on the situation. It depends on the reading, and it depends on how strong that destiny is toward that certain goal, whether we can pinpoint when it's going to be. Fascinating side note to this. Some readers can do world event readings. I don't do world event readings. I don't predict elections. I don't look into what's happening in the world. I read for the individual person. And that's just where my talent lies, in reading for individuals. I'm not talented when it comes to reading world events. Too much, to me, it's too much distance and not enough connected energy with an individual. However, before all this COVID stuff happened, I was getting readings for people. I was doing readings for people, and I was seeing that for many of the people, things were very, very slow. Their outcomes were very slow. So we were seeing things like, yeah, I want to get this job. I'm like, oh, but it looks like it's just going to take a long time coming to you. Or I want this, you know, new relationship. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to take some time. But I wasn't really paying attention to that overall trend of everybody's thing being slow. I was just thinking about the individual and what I was seeing there for them. And, you know, we were seeing like a lot of slow energy. Well, when all this stuff happened and really opened up in March and everything shut down and all of that happened, it totally made sense. So those clients would come back to me and like, oh, now I understand why this thing was so slow. Now I understand why it was going to take so long for the job to open up or for the relationship to open up or whatever. So it was very interesting because I was seeing, and if I had been paying attention to that trend, maybe I would have had some enlightenment about it or whatever. But we were seeing a lot of slow energy happening, not for everyone, but for a lot of clients. They were seeing like slow outcomes, or it's going to take some time, or you have to work at it, you know, and those kinds of things. So, so that's a very interesting thing in terms of timing. So can they give accurate timelines? Sure, but it depends on the question, and it depends on how strong that destiny is. Can you give, you know, more often? I give a range. I say within a few months or within 6 months, because so much can depend on whether you take action, whether other people take action, et cetera, et cetera. So we can get general timings, but you can also do timings very specifically depending on circumstances. Hi, Connie. MB says, please tell us more about new moon and the Mercury retrograde. Okay, perfect. I love talking about that. So as you know, I do a service every month called the New Moon Hearth Service. It's something I do every month. 13 people and I gather together, and on my hearth, which is the fireplace where I have my altar, I do a spell that's in alignment with the new moon. Now, an interesting thing happens at the new moon. It happens every new moon. Astrologically, the new moon is the time that we have the moon and the sun conjunct. If you're an astrologer, you know conjunct means that they are in the same sign, right? They're next to each other. So, for example, when we have this new moon that just happened, the moon and the sun were both in Cancer during our new moon. So moon and sun being in Cancer, we can double up on our energy of anything that's related to Cancer: home, love, nurturing, and so on and so forth. Those are great things to work on with a Cancer new moon. So if we're looking at astrologically, the new moon is a fabulous time for doing any kind of work where you want to double up the power of the astrology, right? If you look at the sign that the sun is in, it's the same sign that the moon is in. The new moon is also the time of the beginning of the waxing moon cycle. So if you know a little bit about the moon, it gets bigger, 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 bigger till it gets to be a full moon. We call that waxing, when it's getting bigger. And then after the full moon, it gets smaller, 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 appears to be getting smaller, 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 till it's finally not visible at the new moon. And that we call a waning moon. So waxing means getting bigger, waning means getting smaller. We want to amplify things and invite things in and grow things during the time that the moon is getting bigger. And we want to get rid of things, clear things out, cut things off, detach, all of that as the moon is getting smaller. So you understand now, like the increase, we're going to invite things in, the decrease, we're going to let things go. So when we do a new moon heart service, or when you do work around the new moon, you have the power of the astrology of the sun and moon being together. So you got both sun and moon helping you out in a certain sign. You can, use the energy of that sign for your goals, to meet your goals. And then you also have the waxing moon, the beginning of that waxing moon. So if you do a spell on the new moon, you've got 2 weeks of moon being increasing in power to really amplify and bring in something beautiful. Okay. Now let's talk about an eclipse. Eclipses, there's lunar eclipses and there's solar eclipses. So lunar eclipses only happen on the full moon, I believe. I'm 99.9% sure of that. The lunar eclipse, no, wait. I think they only happen on the full moon. I'm not, don't quote me on that one. But I do know that solar eclipses only happen on the new moon, right? So an eclipse has to have the sun, the earth, the sun way out there, the earth, and the moon coming in between, right? So that will be in the new moon. And then it just so happens to line up so that we see the moon covering the sun, right? That's a solar eclipse. When we have a solar eclipse on a new moon, so new moons in and of themselves are a time of beginning, right? A new moon is a beginning of bringing something in, right? After the full moon is the beginning of clearing something out. When we have that eclipse on the new moon, we are looking at something that we are starting a hard reset. We are doing something where we're closing one chapter and beginning a new chapter. That can be a beautiful time to do work where you're finally getting rid of something as the moon is going into the new moon, right? And you finally clear it out and you have a fresh new start. That is what the eclipse lets you do. Hard reset, closing one chapter, opening a new chapter. It is a beautiful, beautiful energy. It is not energy that I would use for something that you want to continue, but it is definitely energy that I would take advantage of for a brand new start, new year, new me kind of energy, right? You want to have a fresh start in some aspect. So that's what you can do during that eclipse time. Now, let's talk about Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is a time when Mercury appears to be moving backwards. Mercury doesn't move backwards, but the way it orbits, and I don't know the details of it, it looks as if it's going backwards. So if you go to a planetarium show, they usually show you that. You can see it. It just looks like it's going backwards, but it's still orbiting. It's just something with the orbits makes it look like it's going backwards. When we have Mercury retrograde, now I have been doing magic for decades, and it's only been in like the last 7-10 years that people have been freaking the hell out over Mercury retrograde. It's like, it's for someone who's been doing magic a long time, you kind of have whiplash. You're like, what? When did this all of a sudden become so problematic? Back in the day, I'm gonna be the old timer. Back in my day, Sunny, here, let me wave my leftover candy cane at you that's sitting on my table here. Back in my day, Sunny, Mercury retrograde, we would say, oh, okay, Mercury retrograde, you don't want to start a new contract with something. You don't want to begin something new or develop something new. You want to go back and fix things, and repair things. you're going to probably have some problems with communication, and that means electronic devices nowadays and so on. It's just what it is. Just go with the flow, roll with it. You'll be fine. And that's really the attitude that I still have about Mercury retrograde. In fact, I say every astrological phenomenon has a bright side and a shadow side. It's like, what is the good part of it and what's the challenging part of it? Even the best things in the world have their challenges, so it's not looking at something like it's dire disaster when the Mercury retrograde happens. It just means that it's not time to initiate new things. You go back and you fix the things that you've already been working on. You go back and do all the words that begin with RE. You revise, you revisit, you revamp, you redo, you remake, you do the things, you reunite. You go back to do past life work during a Mercury retrograde. You can go back and fix friendships. You can go back and reconcile. There's another RE word. So you can do all of these things that are fixing things that are already in place very well with the Mercury retrograde. So it's only a bad thing if you are in a hurry and wanting to go forward and fast in a hurry, because your electronics might cause problems, and you have to be willing to be flexible about that. And if you are doing if you're initiating something new, you're probably going to have to go back and do it twice. Sometimes you can't avoid it. Like sometimes your boss might give you a job to do. What are you going to tell your boss? I can't do it because it's Mercury retrograde. No, you do the job, but you just be prepared that it might take you twice as long, because you're going to have to do it, and then you're going to have to do it again. So it's about your ability to be flexible with it. It's also about your ability to say, hey, I'm going to take advantage of this time. I'm going to do a past life regression, right? There's another word. I'm going to do a past life regression. I'm going to go back and fix that relationship. I'm going to go back and revise my manuscript. Those are all perfect times during Mercury retrograde to do those things. So that's a very long answer to that question. There's a lot of energy going on now. So hi, Karen. Hi, Angela. This is perfect lead in. Nina says, how can you tap into or connect to your past lives as an individual on your own? Whoops, I'm seeing someone can't hear. It looks like the rest of you can hear it. Can you guys hear? I'm gonna make sure. Yeah, okay, no other comments about that. All right, so how do you do on your own? Well, there's lots of ways. There's a thing called past life regression, which is going under hypnosis. So you can probably find past life regression meditations online where you can do a visualization meditation. If you're that kind of a person that can do a visualization, those are great. Beautiful, simple visualization you can do without a guided meditation is to go into a visualization where you dive into a pool of water, and then you come out of the pool of water and you are in your past life. So you look down at your body. What are you wearing? You look around you. What do you see? Who are the other people? What kind of scenery is out there? And you're going to get an idea of what that past life is. Another way is, like I said, doing it through hypnosis. You can be with a hypnotist and you can do a past life regression. Another way you can do it is through, if you're not a person that visualizes very well or doesn't like visualization, some people don't visualize, then there's another way you can do it. There's a couple of decks of cards that I don't have next to me right now, so I can't show you, but I will tell you what they are, that I use, and I sell them on my site. One is called it's called It's Your Karma cards. It's Your Karma cards. Those are a beautiful deck that can give you time frames. It can also give you roles of what you were in that lifetime and place and time of that lifetime. And you can use those cards to get that sense of where you were and who you were. Another deck is Carolyn Mace's Archetypes deck. I also sell that deck. And that one is very helpful for seeing like what your role was. So the It's Your Karma cards will say your role in terms of your job. Were you a noble person, or were you a peasant? Were you a healer, or were you a engineer? What different jobs, right? But the archetype cards give more of like, what was your theme, personality theme? What was the meaning of your life? What was your role in life? So you might have been, for example, a herbalist in that life, but in your archetype, you may have been the teacher. So that gives a little more dimension. And I often use these two decks when I'm doing past life readings for people, but you can use these two decks on your own to have that past life information come through, you know? So if you're a person that likes to work with oracle decks or tarot decks and things like that, then these cards might be very, very helpful for you. If you are a person that likes to visualize more, then doing a guided meditation or doing a meditation where you visualize diving into a pool and coming out in your new body, or your old body, as the case may be, that can be a good method of doing it on your own. All right. Sevda, I hope you can hear now. Shani, Elizabeth, hi. Ozma the Great. Yep. Jürgen says Ozma the Great. That was Princess Ozma's name. Moana is asking tarot, is there a specific tarot card for me this year? This isn't a Q&A for answering questions about a reading. It's answering questions about general knowledge, magic. So that's a great question to bring to a reading with me or someone else, or pull a card for yourself. So Wayne is asking the question, what's the best way to dispose of the glass and wax from a candle spell when using the glass 7-day religious candles? I recycle them. Put them in the recycling bin. You don't want to, you know, fill up the landfill, and it's possible that they can recycle them. So if they're nice and clean, if they're not, you know, waxy and terrible, you can probably recycle them. And that's what I do with them. I want to be conscious of the environment. Candida has a question. I hope all is well with you. I want to ask the, okay. Again, this is a question that's an individual question for you. And so that's not so helpful to everyone else. But let's talk about it in a general way. So Candida wanted to know about approximate result times for a spell that they're working on. So I ordered the kit. The candle finished burning on Friday. How are we going to see the results? Well, depends on a lot of things. Number one, how tough is your situation? You know, if some, you know, it depends. That I can't tell without doing a reading. If you want to do a reading with me, we could take a look and see what the timing would be. Like, how stuck is it? How forceful is the resistance to talking? So that's like something that we would do in a reading. But let's talk about general timings of spells. What are we looking for when we're looking for a timing, or what is our expectation when we're doing a spell? When we're doing a spell, we're looking for messages, movement, and manifestation. There's 3 signposts that we're looking for when we're doing a candle spell. This is particular to candle spells, by the way. So if we're doing a candle spell, we sometimes, very, very rarely, but sometimes happens, when we're burning the candle, we see the result. That is sometimes people's expectation. I'm going to light this candle and then I'm going to see instant results. It does sometimes happen, but it is extremely, extremely rare. I'll say maybe 1 out of every 200 candles that I burn, do we see the results while the candle is burning. The vast majority of candles spells, we wait until the candle is finished to start marking the time. Once the candle spell is burned and complete, then the spell is sent off. So now we look for messages, movement, and manifestation. Messages. Within a few days of your candle spell being complete, you should receive some positive synchronous message from the universe. What is a message from the universe? Messages, or from your guides. Message from your guides or the universe is something like seeing a repeating number, hearing a significant song on the radio, seeing a symbolic thing that means something to you regarding the spell work, hearing somebody say something that is a message that relates to your spell work, even though they're not the target of your spell, for example. So the concept with messages is it's something coming not from the target or not from the source of what you're working on, but from something out there. Finding coins on the street, finding a weird feather, finding a black widow in your salad. I mean, those are the things that we're looking for as messages, right? Okay, that should happen within a few days of doing your spell. If it doesn't happen within a few days of doing your spell, you might have to do a different kind of spell, or you might have to do your spell over. Make sure you're looking though, because sometimes we miss messages. So make sure you're paying attention. The next gateway that we're looking for to see if our spell was effective is we're looking for movement. So I do a spell for a job. I'm not having any luck getting a job. And then I do my spell for a job. And then I see a symbol of a dollar sign, somebody walking down the street with a big dollar sign on their shirt. And that for me is like, wow, that's like what I'm looking for. I need money coming in. And that's like a sign for me. There's a person walking down the street with a dollar sign. Or I hear, money, that's what I want, or whatever. You get some sign, you get some message, right? Now we have to see movement. Movement is not the final culmination, but movement is something moving in the right direction. Oh, okay. So I wasn't getting any response, and now I'm getting some calls for interviews. I'm not necessarily getting the job, but within a few weeks, you should see some movement. That would be maybe the person, if you're working on a reconciliation, they might like something on your social media, or jobs are now calling you in for interviews, or my health is improving. It's not at the level I want, but it's getting better. See, that's a movement. You're looking for movement to happen within a few weeks. So that's anywhere from 1 day to 3 weeks. Next signpost that we're looking for, and the final signpost that we're looking for, is the final manifestation. The final manifestation, sorry, she is chewing on my cord again. The final manifestation of what you're wanting can happen anywhere from 1 day, day one of finishing the candle, all the way up to a few months. It might take a few months. So the reason we have these signposts along the way, that we are knowing that it's moving in the right direction, is because I don't know your situation. Are you doing a spell for someone that they just stopped talking to you last week? Or are you doing a spell for someone that you haven't talked to for 10 years? So unless we know, like what we're up against, is it a tough situation? Is it an easy situation? You might have to do more than one spell. So think of it like when you go to the doctor. If you go to the doctor with like, oh my gosh, I have this cut on my finger. It's this huge cut and it's bleeding everywhere. Oh, great. Okay, we'll put some disinfectant, we'll clean it up, and we'll sew it up, and you're good to go. That's a simple thing. So a simple solution isn't going to be, you're going to have a resolution very quickly on a simple situation. Now we go into a situation where the liver's failing and the heart has blockages, and we also have some other health issues that are going on, dementia, whatever. That is a complicated situation. You're not going to get the same treatment as stitching up a finger. You're going to have to address different issues and go to different things. So more complicated situations require different treatments than simple situations. So to say there's no one size fits all for spells, because there's no one size fits all for your life. It's not like every breakup is the same, or every person that wants to bring in a new relationship, or everybody that wants a job is dealing with the same thing. What obstacles are you having to overcome? Are there any obstacles, or is it wide open? Is the person resistant, or is the person just having a moment? You know what I mean? It's like, it's all different situations. So what you're looking for is to see that you did your spell and you're seeing some messages, some movement, and then final manifestation. If at any point you don't get the message, or you don't get the movement, or you don't get the manifestation, then you go back and you try it again, or you try something else. So it's just like medicine. If you have a simple thing like a cut finger, we can say very directly, yeah, we're just going to stitch this up. But it doesn't mean that there isn't, like the more complicated health situations, they might go, okay, you've got lots of things going on here. First, we're going to deal with your heart situation. Then once we get that stabilized, then we're going to deal with your kidney, and we're going to give you this medication. Oh, that medication didn't work. Let's try this medication. I mean, no doctor, even in simple things like, antibiotics, your body is a very complicated thing. They're not going to 100% guarantee that you're going to have no problems with those stitches. Even that simple thing. They'll never say, I 100% guarantee you're not going to have any problems, no infection, whatever, because they don't know. They have a good guess because it's a simple thing, but, they have to, see how it goes. So the same thing with magic. We can say, this is the best magic for this situation. This is the best spell for this situation. Or you may get a sense this is the spell that you want to do, but you have to kind of see how it goes to see if it's going to be the one that works and the one that takes. So, but that's why you go to get a reading and get, root work or spell work advice, because a spell worker hopefully doesn't have any skin in the game. Wow, you are getting rascally. Doesn't have any skin in the game and can say to you, yeah, I think this is a simple situation and all you need to do is take a cleansing bath and you're going to be fine. Or this is kind of complicated. A good reader will be honest with you and tell you if you're dealing with a complicated situation based on their reading, and tell you what you're up against. That doesn't mean sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, this is a big problem. You're going to have a lot of work ahead of you. And if that's the situation that you do have a lot of work, you're getting too rascally and bitey. You're a little vampire. You're a little vampire. Anyway, so in a nutshell, that's what you're looking at. So there's no one size fits all for your spell. It's you're doing your intuitive guidance has told you to get this spell. Now do this spell and then see if you get a sign, see if you get some movement. And if you get that, you're probably going to get your manifestation within a few months. But if you don't, then try something else. Try a mojo bag, try working with an oil, try taking a cleansing bath, get a reading to see, what the situation is and see. All right. Jasmine has a question. Okay, so Jasmine has a question. I ordered the vigil candle in April. It turns out my boyfriend and me broke up yesterday. He didn't tell me why. He just randomly stopped talking to me. I still haven't gotten my results yet on the True Love candle. Can the True Love candle still work if we are not together? I'm behind in doing my candle reports. I have your candle, it's complete. I haven't done the report yet. So can it work if we're not together? It depends on what we see in the candle. So if the candle has a lot of soot and smoke, it means there's spiritual blockages to that outcome. If the candle burned clear, there's no spiritual blockages. So wait and see what the candle report or the photos say, and then you'll know what it's saying about your relationship. Here's the thing that I would say. Is your candle, sometimes we see this happen too. It's like, I want a candle for true love. I really want a true love. The universe knows better than we do what our highest and our best is. So sometimes those relationships end. I mean, we're seeing an ending right around the time of the eclipse. I would take that as like, well, maybe your boyfriend is awesome in a lot of ways, but is that relationship your highest and your best? And if it isn't, maybe there's somebody else better out there for you. That's something to consider. I don't know that particularly that is the case for you. And I don't know because I'm not looking at your candle, but I'm just saying, and it's just general rule. We sometimes have the ending of something to have the clearing the space for something better to come in. And that may be what you're manifesting here, which isn't a bad thing at all. So, yes, and I will get your candle report to you soon. All right. Bronwyn says, do you have a spell to help want to stay home more? And I guess what you mean by that, do you have a spell to help you want to stay home more, or to be more settled or be comfortable, or you're trying to get someone to stay home more? I'm not quite sure about that one. You might have to fill me in. Can you do spells to make someone stay at home? Yes, there's stay at home oil. You can do spells, working with brown candles, someone stay put, earth energy, working with crystals, all kinds of things that you can do for getting to stay at home. Now, if you're trying to get yourself to stay at home more and not somebody else, and be comfortable staying at home, I would say, what can you do to shift your own internal feelings about staying at home? If staying at home feels uncomfortable because you live in an uncomfortable environment, how can you make it more comfortable? You know, that's a kind of a rational, logical way of approaching it, but you can certainly support it magically using incense in your space to clear out any old funky energy, using a spray smokeless incense to bring in more peace and tranquility, sprinkling peace water around. I mean, there's lots of things that you can do to make your environment more manageable so that you're not feeling stressed out by staying at home and wanting to get out of there. So, Meltem says, hi, Madame Pamita. I'm doing love work to make my target talk more as he talks and then he goes silent. I got a blue and red 7-day candles. Can I use them on top of my jars? A 7-day candle is not really, this is an interesting thing that I've noticed. So what you're kind of asking, oh, help your cat stay home. Bronwyn, I'll talk to you about that in a second. Sorry about that. Meltem's question is an interesting one because honey jars, as I was taught to work with honey jars, we always use small candles on honey jars. This is the way I was taught. This is the way I teach it. When we do a honey jar or a sugar jar or sweetening jar, you want a candle that's going to burn in one day. Now, I've seen this trend in the last year or two where I see big figural candles on top of honey jars. I've also seen another weird honey jar trend that I don't quite get, but I'll talk about that in a second. But so the idea of the honey jar is that you're putting in an energy and burning a complete candle every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, or 7 days a week, or whatever your routine is, right? But that you're burning a complete candle and it's like you're hitting something continuously by burning that complete candle. So by putting a 7-day candle, it's okay, but it's not the ideal because you're not completing the candle. You're just breaking it up into 7 days. So it wouldn't be my first choice. Could you do it? Sure. You could do anything and try it and see if it works. But I would prefer myself doing individual small candles each of those days. Now let's talk about the other trend, that trend, seeing figural candles on top of honey jars. That is a new thing that somebody started doing and it has been a trend. I don't see really the reason for it. You can I guess you can kind of do a mashup of a figural candle spell and a honey jar spell, but the honey jar spell itself, you're not going to be burning a full figural candle on top of a honey jar every 3 times a week. That gets expensive. And it's going to take a little while to burn that figural candle. So it's something that's like a trend that's only been happening for the last couple of years. I haven't seen it before then. And so you can try it and see if it works for you. Another weird trend that I've seen with honey jars is people doing honey jars for money. That is to me a very strange choice. A very strange choice. Honey jars are sweetening spells. They're supposed to sweeten a person toward you. Now, most people think of it for a lover situation, and they're definitely used for lover situations, but they can also be used for family members, for bosses, for judges, for people that are making decisions, whether you get hired, whatever. You can sweeten anyone towards you. But I always think of honey being a sweetener for a person, to sweeten a person. I don't know how you sweeten money. Unless you're thinking of getting a sugar daddy or a sugar mama, then a honey jar for money works, then it makes sense. But to get a honey jar for prosperity is not the ideal. That's not, I don't understand that, but you do you. If that's what you're doing, you do you. So I've seen that like showing up in the last year or two also, where people are doing honey jars for money. And I'm like, I don't get, what are you sweetening? Money isn't a person. A sweeter job, maybe? I don't know. Or sweetening your boss, that would make sense, you know, to give you a raise, but to just do a honey jar for money, doesn't compute for me. So your question, yes, do your red and blue candles, try them out, see how they work. But I would, you know, I'm kind of the person, old school person, when it comes to honey jars, I just do one candle each day over, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's how I do. Bronwyn wants help your cat stay home more. Oh boy, that's a tough one. Well, that, you know what you would do? Here's what I would say for this one. Help your cat stay home more. Talk to your cat, have a talk with your cat. Explain to your cat why you want it to stay home more, and then talk to the cat mother. The cat mother is like the cat over spirit. It's like the spirit of all cats. To get that cat mother, like the mother of cats, to work on your cat to keep your cat more content at home or to stay home. Okay? That's what I would do. You could burn a candle, a cat candle too. You could also have a cat figurine that you use as your center focus for working with the mother of cats. So that's where I would start with that. And then use some stay-at-home oil on the cat candle and just set it up on your altar. There you go. That's what I would do. All right, one more question and then we're gonna go. So how do you okay, maybe I'll take two questions because these are fast questions. Yin Lee has a question. How do you consecrate an item for protection? Lots of ways you can consecrate an item for anything, actually, beyond protection. One of the ways is smoking it in an incense that supports your desire. So for example, in protection, we could use something like burning rue on a charcoal or mint. You could burn any of the resins on a charcoal and put that object through the smoke. That could be with the intention that that amulet is going to protect you. Let's just say you're working with an amulet. Another way of doing it is by putting an oil on it. So you could use powerful protection oil, for example, and put that on the object and put a little dot of it on your object and have that be your protection talisman. You can set it on an altar with protective spells that you're doing. That's another way you can work to get, you know, charge something for protection. So there's three ways: putting it on an altar, putting it with, putting it through smoke, or putting oil on it. And I think depending on what you're dealing with, the object, you might want one or the other. If you're working with paper or cloth, you might not want to put oil on it, so you put it through incense smoke. If you've got something metal that's not going to absorb the energy of the smoke, you might want to put oil on it. So there's a great example. All right, Casey has a question. Does candle size matter for certain spells? Does size matter? The question forever. Do candle sizes matter? Candle sizes do matter, but they matter not in the way that you think. So bigger in magic doesn't mean better. If you get a bigger candle, if you get more herbs, if you get more oils, does it mean a stronger spell? No. It's what is right for your spell work. Perfect example we were talking about in the honey jars, right? The way I like to work a honey jar, the super old school way of working a honey jar, is you burn one candle a day over 3 days of the week or 7 days of the week or whatever your pattern is. If you are doing a candles, you know, like if you get a ginormous candle on top of that honey jar, there's no way that you're going to burn it in 1 day. So you now kind of defeated the purpose of the one a day. You're hitting it and completing a candle every day for 7 days of the week or 3 days of the week. So for a honey jar, you want a small candle, birthday candle, chime candle, slim taper, thick but short taper, something like that. You don't want a big candle for that. Likewise, if you're going to burn something and you want to burn a candle over many, many days, a birthday candle isn't going to work for you. If you're going to burn a 7-day spell or a 9-day spell, a birthday candle is too small. So you need to have a candle that can last, that you can burn every day. So it depends on your intention with the spell. Is burning a little candle less effective than burning a bigger candle? It depends on the kind of spell work that you're doing. One little candle every day for, 7 days is going to be the equivalent of one big candle that burns over 7 days. So why would you choose one over the other? Well, you might want to have that energy of completion each day. You might want to have a different color candle each day. You might want to put a different oil on those candles each day. And in that case, 7 individual candles is way more versatile than one big candle. Maybe you want to dress it once for one intention and burn it for 7 days. Then you want a big candle. Then you're not having to go through the hassle of reconsecrating the candle and redressing the candle and all of those things each day. You can do it once and then just light it each day. So sort of depends on what your intention is. There's no, right way or wrong way in sense that you should always do one, you should always do the other. It's kind of what the spell is asking for. That's what we'll tell you. So one last question about, Irene is asking, can you give us more insight on spell casting during Mercury retrograde? Yes, Mercury retrograde is awesome for doing, we talked about this earlier, doing anything where you have to fix something, where you have to revise something, where you have to revisit something, where you have to redo something. So if you are going to do a reconciliation work, right? Or you want someone to talk to you that hasn't been talking to you, but they used to talk to you, Mercury retrograde is a great time for that. So in terms of love work, it's not probably the ideal time to do a new romance spell, to bring in a new relationship. It's probably not a great time for that. In fact, if I were to say in a situation where if I were single and I wanted to do a love spell during Mercury retrograde to bring in a new lover, I wouldn't do the new love spell during Mercury retrograde. What I would do is the work on myself to make myself in the best place to bring that love in, whether that is getting rid of my old pain, getting rid of my old relationship baggage, getting to love myself. I mean, all of those things are great work to do during Mercury retrograde. And then once Mercury retrograde's over, then you invite in that new relationship. So yeah. And if you're going back to fix an old relationship, it's a great time for that. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here with me today and our little solo endeavor. Well, kind of solo. Now she's conked out. That wild child is asleep in front of me. Thank you so much for being with me here. Next week, my guest is going to be Tatiana, I believe, but I want to double check and make sure. I'm going to make sure. I'm going to look. Yes, Tatiana is my guest, and we're going to have an amazing time next week. So I'll see you then. The following week, July 5th, is my birthday. So we will not be having a session because I'll be doing some birthday celebrating. So we won't be having our session on the 5th, but then I'll see you on the 12th. So have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next week. Next week is the 1st. No, it's the 31st or the 30th or something. It's the 28th. I'll see you on the 20th. I don't know. Who knows what day it is anymore? I don't even know what year or month it is anymore. Anyway, we'll see you on the 28th. Have a great week. And I can't wait to see you next week, and have a gorgeous week. And we'll see you then. Bye.